A rivalry game featuring two of the best teams in the Western Conference goes tonight. The Winnipeg Jets and Minnesota Wild go head-to-head. Two great teams and two great defensive teams will battle all kinds of great games as well on tap to go over. Prop bets, ladder challenge. I'm happy to be back here on Puck Time on WagerTalk TV. Looking forward to a massive NHL slate. And Carm, well, due to the Thanksgiving week, we also have kind of a jumbled and fumbled NHL schedule, a jam-packed Monday, and only two games tomorrow on a Tuesday. So Monday has kind of taken the place of Tuesday's busy slate. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm feeling pretty prepared here and fired up. And you're coming off a 5% win this weekend, man. So I imagine you're in a pretty good mood as well.
Yeah, I'm in a great mood. It was a good weekend overall. I think, Andrew, I'm more happy about the fact I'm finally sleeping again. But yeah, there's only really one game that I liked all weekend enough to make it a client play, and it was New Jersey Devils over Washington as a 5% play. That one got there. The 6-60 went 4-2, so that was profitable if you played those individually. And then yesterday, NFL, I had three best bets in the NFL yesterday. They all won circa. I went 4-1. So it was a great sports betting weekend for me. I'm really happy about it. We have a huge slate of action tonight. We're going to cover Dallas and Carolina, Colorado, Tampa Bay. You're going to do our props, Winnipeg and Minnesota. I've taken the ladder out of the garage. Step one of the ladder challenge returns today as well, too. And then best bets, and we'll close it off. Two crappy games tomorrow. No show on Thursday, guys. We will have our regular guest on Wednesday. We're unsure if Prez will be here tomorrow or not. He's vacationing, I think, in the Bahamas. At least he was as of yesterday. So we'll see if he's on tomorrow. Two games. So we really don't need him, Andrew, I think. With that said, Carolina and Dallas, Andrew. This is an intriguing one because right now I'm seeing the goalies listed as Ottinger and Martin for Carolina. The line's minus 130 on Carolina, plus 110 is a take back on Dallas. 6.5 is the total on this one. I'm going to go to you first on this one to give me your thoughts on how you think this one plays out tonight.
Carm, here's the deal. This Carolina Hurricanes team has been the epitome of a consistent hockey team. They have been playing such good hockey that I don't really want to go against them right now. But when I look at this Dallas Stars team, I think it's fair to say they've been a little bit more up and down lately. And then when I talk about kind of their star players, I haven't really been able to trust them as much as I've been able to trust the star players for the Carolina Hurricanes. And that kind of bugs me in a particular game like this. But you take a look at the schedule for this Stars team. It's been a really mixed bag. They've had games against teams like the Sharks and the Ducks, and they've had games against teams like the Wild and the Lightning. So it's been a real mixed bag for them. But for me, I'm going to go ahead and lock in the Hurricanes here. This is a bet that I'm intrigued with just based on recent form. And the recent form is more so motivation. I talk a lot about hockey. You want to ride waves. You want to ride the streaks. But you also want to find spots where teams are going to come in motivated. And the last two performances for Carolina, it has not looked good for them. You know, you give up 4 goals against the Devils. You only score 2 yourselves. Then you lose 5-4 against the Blue Jackets. And although the Blue Jackets have kind of exceeded expectations so far, I'm sure Carolina disappointed to give up 5 goals against the Jackets team that, let's be honest here, they only have about 3 or 4 goal scorers themselves. So I do like this Hurricanes team. I don't mind the price whatsoever. I'll take them on the money line at home, and this is where they play their best hockey, Carm. So I think Carolina gets the job done. I think if you look at kind of recent form, you would say that, hey, Dallas is playing good hockey, but I also love this desperation and motivated spot here for Carolina at home. What are your thoughts here on this one? And any thoughts on the price here, Carmen, this one? I think it's okay here for Carolina.
Yeah, Andrew, I think the price is probably about right, just because Carolina can play well in front of any goalie. I kind of feel bad for Spencer Martin because he got saddled with the loss in that Columbus game, and he came in with about a minute left, I think, in that game, 1 or 2 minutes left in that game after Kochetkov got injured, and of course the shootout. He only stopped one shot in the shootout, so he gets saddled with the loss, having only played like 3 minutes of that game. And it's one in which Carolina can score goals. We know this team can score goals, and they're probably going to have to score some goals tonight because Dallas brings it as well too. This Dallas team has a ton of scoring as well too in their lineup, and they seem to, when they score in bunches. It's one of the reasons why the total's at 6.5 for a reason, because it's likely going to be Martin in goal. We don't know who's the confirmed goalie yet. It looks like it's going to be Ottinger, but it could be their backup goalie as well too for them. You don't normally see 6.5s with Carolina. You see sixes, flat sixes with them. And if they're playing a real defensive team, you would see 5.5s. I would venture a guess that if we had their two regular starting goalies here, this would definitely be a 6 shaded to the under, and you probably see like 5.5 pop up. I'm not, positive of that, but it wouldn't surprise me. I'm leaning over in this one. I'm going to take the over in this one. I think Martin's going to allow some goals, and that's going to force Carolina to score some goals as well too in order to win this game. I want to go back to something I talked about on Thursday and Friday's show with regards to the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Columbus Blue Jackets are a team that you may not want to touch their games on the road, but at home, Andrew, you got to be playing these overs. I made that one of the 6 and 60 plays, and I thought about making it a client play, but then the VIG and the juice and the number just got away from me. But you look at some of the Columbus games real quick, just to harp back on it. 5-4 over Carolina, 7-6 over the Lightning, 6-2 over Pittsburgh. They lose 6-2 to Winnipeg. Against the Islanders, the only low-scoring game, 2-0 in that one. 6-1 over the Edmonton Oilers, 6-2 over the Toronto Maple Leafs. They beat the Sabres 6-4. They're entertaining their fans. If nothing else at home, they're entertaining their fans. You got to start looking at just playing the overs there until that regresses. It normally does. A team like Columbus Blue Jackets is not going to average 5 goals a game at home, but until it starts to regress, you got to start playing the Columbus overs at home. Any thoughts on that before we hit Colorado, Tampa?
Well, I think that right now we're at the point of the season where we've just seen 2 different coaches get fired, right? Carmine, I mean, obviously we saw, how long was Montgomery without a job? What was it, 5 days? Right? So we're realizing the value of a coach, right? Montgomery gets picked up by the St. Louis Blues. And the reason why I say that is Dean Evason, maybe it didn't work out with him in Minnesota. Maybe it didn't work out. And guess what? Minnesota's playing pretty well right now. But he's doing really good work with Columbus. Really good work with Columbus. And I think it does go to show that sometimes these coaching bumps and sometimes a new coach, it can impact a team for a full season. It can impact a team for quite some time, not just for the first couple games or after a coaching fire. He's been a really good coach. And honestly, somebody once told me you learn a lot more about a coach when they're coaching a bad team than a good team, And there's a lot of coaches around the hockey world that have been surrounded by great teams in their whole coaching career. But nobody gives credit to coaches that are doing well with these teams and helping them exceed expectations from the bottom. So I appreciate you saying that. I think it's a good call by you for this Columbus Blue Jackets team. They're playing some good hockey. And the funny thing is, I always say I don't want to take a plus into a minus, meaning I don't want to take an underdog potential bet on a good plus money into a minus. But if you notice, Carmen, it's kind of funny. I love those team totals. How many times this year have the Columbus Blue Jackets gone over their 2.5 team total, but they've lost the game? Like, this team, they're scoring goals, they're going over the total in their games, but they're not able to win games themselves, because they're giving up a ton of goals as well. But and since you brought it up, I got to give a shout out to Sean Monahan. Obviously, he went to that team to play for Johnny Gaudreau, and we all know what happened there. Rest in peace. But Monahan's having himself a great season, Carm.
Yeah. I thought they were going to struggle a lot more than they are. And maybe, as we get into the second quarter of the season, the midway point, maybe they do and they start to trend downwards and they lose quite a few games in a row, kind of like the Chicago Blackhawks did last season. it's something to keep an eye on. It's something to keep an eye on for a lot of the Andrew, for a lot of the teams that had unexpected good starts to the season, that they're just not going to maintain it. So with that said, you can find yourself on the right end of a lot of win streaks if you monitor these teams. Just put in the homework, looking at the advanced schedules for some of these teams and some of their results, look at their XG numbers, and if they're on the decline, likely so is the team. You can also find good teams that have had bad starts and are going to look to turn it around. And hopefully I found a couple of them um, towards the tail end of this show. But with that said, Colorado, Tampa Bay, Andrew, minus 110 both ways. The Avalanche start the first half of the Florida double with a huge win over Florida. I don't think Florida should be in panic mode yet, but they've lost four of their last 5 games, I believe. Minus 110 both ways. It's looking like it's Georgiev and Vasilevsky. Those are the projected starters, not the confirmed starters. 6.5 under 15. And Andrew, I already know what you're going to say to me, Carm. I'm leery of taking any under when it involves the Colorado Avalanche, but that is where I'm going here. Because in all honesty, other than that 7-4 game, which I got a little out of control, you're not going to see Florida and Colorado play 7-4 games regularly. Georgiev's looked good. If you look at his starts, his last 5-6 starts, I think he won 5 in a row, allowed 2 or fewer in I think 4 of those games. And it's the same with Vasilevsky as well too. Tampa can score. If these teams don't get specialty team help tonight, which is power plays for Tampa, power plays for Colorado, both that can be lethal, and it's tough to project whether they're going to get them or not. 5-on-5, this game should be an under. It's a dangerous one, I get it, but 5-on-5, these teams will play to the under tonight, and that's where I'm going to go, Andrew, and hope I don't see a slew of guys to the penalty box tonight and power plays. Give me under 6.5.
Carm, you are a very brave man, because when the Avalanche were dealing with all their injuries, I tried to bet unders with them. And even with those injuries, I was having trouble. But I like what you're saying there. I get it. And I think that this is a game that we should probably be looking at giving some respect more towards Colorado's defense, because you look at some of the games they've had, some of the games they've been successful in, it actually has been because of their defense, and I get it. They coming off that game against the Panthers, and like you said, it's nothing to write home about, but they were able to find a way to get the job done. But I look back at that win they had over the Washington Capitals, and I remember you, Brian, and I talking about that game and how crucial of a game it was, despite it being 2 teams that were, on different sides of things at the point. We had one team that was trying to heat up and continue to get going on a winning streak, and one team that was absolutely exceeding expectations, being the Washington Capitals. And Colorado won that one 2-1. Colorado's a team that was able to pull it out. When I look at this Tampa Bay team right now, I think that they a little bit over exceeded expectations to start off the season. And when I look at kind of how they've played lately, we're starting to see what can happen a little bit to them. Some of the goals they've given up, some of the games they've given up goals, I worry a little bit about their defense, but at the same time, I kind of worry about their depth. And that to me is the biggest thing. You guys hear me talk about that all the time. I understand they're playing at home. Tampa gets the matchups that they want to get. And I understand Colorado's off some big, big wins. And the only reason that is keeping me off betting this game is exactly that, Carm. Some people don't believe in these flat spots. When you've got a 7-4 win over Florida, okay, on tap, or that you just recently had, and then before that was a 2-1 win over Washington, then now you get this game against Tampa Bay. It's hard to stay focused. So I kind of want to play Colorado right now. I like the way they're playing, and I don't really like the direction the Tampa Bay Lightning are going into right now. So the only way I would actually go is probably looking towards the Tampa Bay team total. I don't think they're scoring that many goals. I would look towards team total under for them. But I think you kind of talked me into the under. This is the first time that I'm sounding like Prez, and I have absolutely no thoughts on a pick, but I have a lot of thoughts on the game. So I just think that you look at this Colorado team, and they're playing good hockey right now. But overall, this is kind of one of those spots you want to stay away from because they're off so many big games in a row. And when that happens sometimes, I understand. Sometimes people like to ride streaks, but it's going to come to an end. And this kind of spot on the road is a little tricky for me. As you can tell, Carm, I don't really want to take Tampa here, but my heart's telling me it's probably the right spot, which means I'll probably just jump in with you on the under because I think that's how they're going to be successful is maintaining Colorado's, superstar players like McKinnon and Rantanen.
Yeah. Listen, and Andrew, I want both these goalies that I mentioned to be in the lineup tonight. I want Vasilevsky. I want Georgiev in goal. Tampa Bay has played 9 home games this season, and only one of those games has had 7 goals in it. Every other game has had 6 or fewer goals, and that game was, I think, their second home game of the season, where they played the Vegas Golden Knights, and Tampa scored 2 goals in the last 2.5 minutes of that game to win that game 4-3. It was another game that likely could have gone under the total. It didn't, but 8-1 to the under at home to this number of 6.5 is a solid stat. So with that in mind, that's one of the reasons I'm looking at it. I think that 7-4 game against Florida was uncharacteristic. I think the 2-1 game is Colorado's not going to play a lot of 2-1 games. This one should fall somewhere in between there, and hopefully it's somewhere in between that keeps it an under. I'm perfectly happy with a 3-2 game, 4-1 game tonight. So if 4-2 game, anything that keeps it under 6.5 is fine with me. So with that said, Andrew, I'm gonna send it to you to give us some prop play winners to kick off Monday, because it is a monster card in the NHL tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited, Carm. It's kind of nice. Usually we start the week off as hockey fans, hockey bettors with a small slate on Monday. We have to wait until Tuesday to get the big games going, the massive slate. Not this week. Not this week. A bunch of games on tap tonight. And I actually found a 5% play that I really, really, really like for tonight. The package is not up at WagerTalk just yet live on this show. The analysis is done, but the package will be up directly after this show is finished being recorded. And I really do like that 7-1 this year on NHL 5% plays. Really looking forward to this play, guys. Don't forget to grab that over at wagertalk.com. But I got 3 interesting props here for tonight in the NHL. We'll start things off with a shots on goal prop with Nathan McKinnon over 3.5 shots on goal. I haven't talked about McKinnon very much on the show this year. I haven't talked about his player props very much on the show this year. And Carm, a lot of the times I catch myself mentioning streaks, how a guy's done on the road, at home, versus a certain team, or just overall stats. McKinnon honestly hasn't been going over his shots on goal over the last handful of games. But you know what he has been going over? His shot attempt numbers. And we can't bet attempts. It's not NFL. We can't bet rushing attempts. We can't bet shot attempts. But he's still a trigger-happy guy. He's still a guy that gets a lot of opportunities to shoot the puck. And against a team like Tampa Bay, it's going to be top line versus top line, superstars versus superstars. And I believe in this matchup, they're going to need McKinnon to be the star he is and go up and over 3.5 shots on goal. So I really do like that player prop. And I like the fact that we're getting minus 115. Let's not forget, guys, there were some points last season. This player prop was upwards of minus 145, 150. Hell, we were even seeing 4.5 for this prop in certain situations. Let's move to our next one here. We're going to go with Jesper Bratt from the New Jersey Devils to record an assist. In 7 of his last 8 home games, he has an assist for the New Jersey Devils. He's playing extremely well for them. They're playing Nashville, who have been mediocre at best defensively this season. And when you look at Jesper Bratt's numbers, it's one of those scenarios here where you're better off playing his assist number if you want to bet him to score a point. I'm not saying he doesn't really score goals at all, but this is a guy that mostly when he's involved in the score sheet, he's getting the assists. So instead of taking that point prop, take the assist prop. You're way better off. Jesper Bratt doing very, very well at home. As I mentioned, 7 of his last 8 home games, he's had a ton of success with the assist for the New Jersey Devils. All right, last one. This one's kind of an interesting one here, but it's a 1.5 shots on goal prop, and it's with a defenseman. Let's switch over to the St. Louis Blues game. They're fresh off firing their coach, and they hired Jim Montgomery, former Boston Bruin coach that was fired just a handful of days ago. And there's always that coaching bump. There's always that sense of enthusiasm surrounding a team when you get that new coach. It's how it always happens. Well, I told you guys all the time that I love these 1.5 shots on goal for defensemen. Colton Parayko has gone over this number in 6 of his last 8 games, 7 of his last 8 home games, over 1.5 shots on goal, minus 130 for him. Do not forget about defensemen, guys. Do not forget about these over 1.5 numbers. And especially with a situation like this, after firing your coach, we should see a lot of enthusiasm from the St. Louis Blues. 3 props for tonight, Carm. Sorry if I went long there on that segment, but really looking forward to those props tonight.
No, you could have taken some more time. I was looking up some stats as well too. So you're fine on the time. But yeah, to your point of keep an eye on defensemen shot stats, it is an important one because you can find some that cash. I mentioned it on Friday's show about Rasmus Dahlin in Anaheim. So not only did he go over the total in that one, he went over the total again in San Jose the next night. He has gone over his shot prop total in 11 of his last 12 games. Even if you're paying 150, 160 juice, you're making money. 11-1 to that. If you can play a 160 team in the NHL, you can play a prop as well too, because you can hit the prop and early on. He hit early on, I think 22 minutes into the game. It was a winner against Anaheim, and then against the Sharks, it took into the third period, but he got there as well too, Andrew. The Rasmus Dahlin shot props, you always want to take a defenseman, I think, that is going to get a lot of time on the number 1 or number 2 unit, 24 minutes plus, and a guy who's going to be on the power play for the team as well too, because you're going to accumulate some shots there as well too. Any thoughts? Have you been riding this Dahlin one? I haven't been releasing player props of late. It's been probably all of November. I haven't released any. I stopped in October because I wanted to focus on sides and totals, and I'm up like almost 31 units in NHL in November, so I'm pretty happy that I'm focusing on sides and totals. But your props are hidden.
You're crushing it, man, in November. And you know what? It seems like a lot of people are doing well at WagerTalk with hockey, so you love to see it. And Carm, I think I mentioned this before, but I'm actually not doing props this regular season with the NHL at all with clients. And to make it very clear for everybody watching, I am betting these props. Like, I am personally putting money on those 3 props that I just mentioned to you guys a few moments ago. This is the problem. And I'm going to make it very clear. Some might agree, some might not. The fact of the matter is there's a ton of props I like every night. But I don't want to give out 10 props to clients. I don't want to give out 15 picks in one single night to clients. And I'm not saying I'm betting 15 props tonight, but the problem is last year what was happening is I would give out 2 or 3 props and the 5 or 6 other ones I liked hit, and the ones that I was giving out, they weren't hitting. There's too many I like every night. And so it was really hard for me to pick out the exact ones that I like. And so I've been kind of just doing more content with it, doing videos, talking about all the props I like and give people ideas, and then they can kind of choose from there. So it's tough, Carm. It really is tough because there's so many. And the biggest thing about props, as you mentioned, is the juice. That's what's tough, is that trying to find some props that have a good number for you. But Dahlin, man, you're right. 11 of the last 12. I have bet that a couple times, but and I'm not just making a joke about the Sabres because it applies to my Canadians and all kinds of teams as well. But what about, Carm, the idea of looking at player props on bad teams, right? People look at player props. They want to bet the Knights. They want to bet the Panthers. They want to bet the Avalanche. They want to bet the Maple Leafs, the Rangers. But why can't we bet overs on bad teams? Look at Macklin Celebrini for the San Jose Sharks. This guy's going over 2.5 shots on goal every time he's out there because he's a rookie, He can't even legally drink a beer in the States, and he's like the best player on the team. I mean, this guy is young on a bad team, but he's still a good player. So do you feel like people kind of are missing out on the low-hanging fruit because they only want to bet player props on good teams and not bad teams?
It likely is. I think people just gravitate to the better teams and leave those other games because they're kind of hold your nose kind of game where I don't want to watch the game, so why should I bet a player prop on it? But
Yeah.
there's still money to be made. What last year when I was having a really good prop year and I focused on certain things and I'm still focusing on it when I talk about it to you guys on the show is, I mean, we're just giving you ideas on the show and it comes with a pick. There's a ton of smart guys in this live chat, and I see it each and every day. So that's, can listen to a free play and not like it, and that's perfectly fine. It is how we got to that play that we want you to understand. So, like with the prop plays, talking about like taking props with a hot guy like who's on a hot run, someone like Rasmus Dahlin, who's in Anaheim, a team that allows the most shots on goal per game at 34.11 shots on goal. So it's going to be there's going to be a lot of shots in that game, and hopefully Dahlin will be a big part of it. San Jose's in the similar boat. The one game of the last 12, he's only stayed under in one game, and that was against the LA Kings, who don't allow a lot of shots on goal. And in that game, I think there was the shots on goal in the third period at one point were 13-12. So you're not going to in those tight checking games, you're not going to get them in open ice games, which you see with Anaheim, which you see with San Jose. Those are the shot props, and the books aren't stupid. They're going to make you pay probably another extra 15 or 20 cents because of it in VIG. So we're just trying to give you an idea of what our mindset is with these prop plays and how we get there. And it's up to you to make a decision on whether you like it or not, or use that information to find plays that you do like in similar games. So with that said, Andrew, I am going to jump into game 3, Winnipeg and Minnesota. This is about as a coin flip as you can get, kind of like that Colorado Tampa Bay one. Winnipeg minus 120, Minnesota even money at home. 5.5 is the total, shaded to the over. I'm just going to say this. I don't think Winnipeg is regressing as of yet. I like the way this team is playing right now, and I would rather pay a little lower on. I'd rather this was like minus 110 both ways, and you probably be able to find it at game time. But I'm going to take the minus 120 here with Winnipeg Jets. I still like the way this Jets team is playing, and until they hit that skid where they lose 3-4 in a row, I'm not looking to fade them just yet. What are your thoughts on this one?
Carm, I actually don't have a thought on the side in this one, so I'll be rooting you on here in that one with the side play. I'm going to take the under 5.5, and a lot of these 5.5s in the NHL have been 5.5s for a reason. There've been a couple of 5.5s where I've taken the over, and a lot of those actually involved the Boston Bruins when they just weren't playing good defensive hockey. But some of these 5.5s over the past couple of days, even in the NHL, and there were a couple on Saturday, look at a couple last Thursday, are going under for a reason. When you see a 5.5, it's that way because these two teams are good defensively. It's at that number because these teams have good goaltending. It's that number because these teams win in low scoring fashion. You take a look at the Minnesota Wild. When they are having success, when they are being themselves, they are winning in low scoring fashion. And I'm not saying that they haven't won games by scoring 4 or 5 goals, because that wouldn't be true. I'm also not saying the Winnipeg Jets haven't had, some high scoring games this year. But you put two teams together like this, you give the Minnesota Wild the home ice advantage, you give them the last change, you give them the matchup. Oh yeah, and let's not forget, they're coming off a loss against the Calgary Flames. This to me has one of those ones where, hey, Carm, if you're having trouble sleeping, toss the Winnipeg Jets and Minnesota Wild game on tonight. This one might be a little bit of a snooze fest, even though it's a good quality game. Not going to be a bunch of action in this one. I think we see good goaltending. and good defensive play. So hopefully after I cash my ticket with the early game tonight, Carm, I can, relax and, kind of wind down watching this game, take the under 5.5 there.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, it should be Hellebuck and Gustafson in goal, but I would not be surprised if Minnesota goes with Marc-Andre Fleury as well too. I mean, like this is their first game back off a 3-game road trip for them, but it wasn't an East Coast trip. It was more West Coast than anything in Canada as well too. So, the game against Calgary is probably the one that was a little bit troubling for me. It's a game in which I think Calgary are playing above their heads, and it was a winnable game for Minnesota, and they didn't get the win. So we'll see what happens, with Winnipeg tonight for them. But at -120, we haven't gotten this price on Winnipeg at all, or not many times this season. I get it, they're on the road, but they're still a solid team. And like I said, until we sort of see them in bad scheduling spots, or or multiple losses in a row, I'm not ready to concede that Winnipeg is a play against. And I think the books understand that as well too, because a little bit of action has come in on the Jets from the overnight line to Showtime. So -120 for this one. All right, Andrew. I took the ladder out. This is a dangerous game for me tonight to start step 1 of the ladder challenge. They're not playing well right now, but they're showing signs of turning it around. But let me tell you, that noose around the neck of Travis Green is getting tighter and tighter with each loss. And I'm talking about the Ottawa Senators. I listened to his clip, his press conference after the game against Vancouver, and it was like trying to have a conversation with my wife when she's absolutely fuming at me. All of the answers are 2 and 3 words, and that's it. It is just any positives from tonight's game? No, we didn't play very well. That was him the whole press conference. He needs to be more positive. He called out some of his players. That has it's a 2-pronged effect. That one can either go against you, or it might spark the guys. I think it sparks them tonight because they're playing Calgary. They're playing a team that I think are playing well above their heads. They're back at home. Since that win against the Leafs in Toronto, they have not won a game since. I think the 5 straight losses. But I look at some of their analytical numbers, and they looked good. So I think there are some positive things ahead for this Ottawa team. I think it has to start tonight with a win. And not only am I taking them to win, I'm taking them to win in regulation time. They are +110. So today's step 1 of the ladder challenge is Ottawa 100 to win 110. And if that wins, we'll have 210 on the line tomorrow in step 2. So give me the Ottawa Senators in a landmine spot, but I'm still taking them tonight at home in regulation against the Calgary Flames, Andrew.
Look, Carm, if it was as easy as betting the teams that are playing well and, fading the teams that aren't playing well, we'd all be living in a mansion, living on an island. So sometimes you got to take the teams and put your neck out there and kind of put yourself out there and take the teams that aren't playing very well. Certainly the case with the Senators, but we'll see how they come out tonight. I love watching post-game press conferences with the coaches after a bad loss or a couple bad losses, because you're going to get some coaches that are going to be very poetic about it, and then some coaches, like you said, that are like your wife or girlfriend when they don't want to talk to you, and they're very, very, very quiet, and they give you very few words.
Or both.
And that's when I go to a different room and I toss a game on and I start watching and I try and forget about what just happened. Having said that, I'm looking forward to some big plays tonight. Of course, like my 5% play, 7-1 on the year. And that does date back to the preseason with 2 winners there with a 5%. But 7-1, guys, those have been my best plays this season. There's been up and down with the 4%, up and down with the 3%ers, but the 5% plays haven't been forcing them at all. If the play sticks out, I'd jump on it, and I definitely do like this play. So grab that over at WagerTalk.com. But Carm, I like this free play as well. And we're going to go with the under with the St. Louis Blues and the New York Rangers. And, we got to give a shout out to Dave Koken here, because Dave used to always mention how powerful coaching firing really is. And we saw it with the Boston Bruins. They've won 2 straight games since firing Jim Montgomery. And I remember seeing Dave just ride all these streaks. And a lot of the time when these teams fire their coach, not only do they start winning games, though, Carm, they play better defensively. The New York Rangers are off a game where they give up 6 goals against the Oilers. They're going to want to play good defensive hockey as well. But the St. Louis Blues have not been playing strong defensively. I think that changes tonight. I feel like after the coaching firing, they step things up, give a full effort, and give, that top effort that really trying to impress their new coach. So whether or not St. Louis has success and wins in their first game following firing their coach, I still feel like we see a good defensive effort, and that leads me to under 6 tonight. Blues and Rangers for my show best bet. What do you have for us?
All right. Well, first of all, 3 plays up tonight in the NFL, a play and a couple of prop bets. We're going to look to sweep week 12 of the NFL season, 3-0 yesterday, and 3 plays up for tonight. 3 plays up in the NHL as well, too. So maybe grab the 1-day all access and grab those. Nothing in soccer today, but I will have some Champions League plays coming up on Tuesday and Wednesday. Some very good cards. And we're going to have a great deal. I'm going to mention it now, but we are going to have a great deal that goes live at midnight tonight, I believe. It is the Thanksgiving Day special where you can get 7 days for $69. That is a great deal moving forward for the rest of the week because there's a ton of action. Obviously, NHL, Thanksgiving Day football on Thursday. God bless you guys down south of the border. We get to celebrate 2 Thanksgivings here, one north of the border in October and one south of the border down there. And that'll take you right through to the weekend as well, too, with plenty of action. So that Thanksgiving Day 7-day all access for $69, no coupon needed, is going to be a great deal that goes live at midnight tonight. With that said, Andrew, I am now going to give out a plus money show play here. I gave out one on Saturday I thought was a good one, which was Vancouver plus money in Ottawa, and that one cashed. The Detroit Red Wings, yes, the Detroit Red Wings. Positive numbers for this team in the last couple of games. Are playing much better defensively. They beat this Islanders team 2-1 in Detroit, and then lose a 2-1 game against the Boston Bruins, where they held some very good analytic numbers there as well, too. So this could be signaling a turn of fortune for the Detroit Red Wings. They go in to New York tonight, and I get it. It could be, you could look at it as a rapid revenge spot. I don't. I think they can get the win tonight. They're plus 135. They're definitely a live dog here, and it's Varlamov in goal. He is confirmed for the New York Islanders, so it's not a Sorokin and Alex Lyon for the Detroit Red Wings. So I'm going to take the plus money and the Red Wings and see if they can start to string some wins together, starting with a sweep of these 2 games over the New York Islanders, plus 135. What do you think, Andrew?
I love it. I love it. Plus money Carm coming out here with an underdog for us tonight, and I think it's a good spot for them. And I'm not sure if you're just trying to, get in good with the Detroit office, but I'll let you do it. It makes sense, get them on your good side. But the Wings, I think, are going to start playing some better hockey lately, and they've kind of been underachieving this season. So it's definitely a good idea to start betting on them and try and find some good spots for that. But Carm, as I've been mentioning throughout the show, it is a jam-packed slate of games here on Monday night. So guys, I know you're probably used to Tuesdays, but if you want all of our best bets over at WagerTalk.com, Carm mentioned that great Thanksgiving special goes live at midnight tonight. But hopefully we gave you some winners here on the show today. Hopefully you guys can follow us on our big plays today over at WagerTalk. And if you like the show, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and make sure you come back tomorrow for more PuckTime action. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time right here on WagerTalk TV.